What's up, YouTube? It's Biblical Truther. It's been put upon me to make this video to let everyone know we are entering into the real birth pains, not the beginning of sorrows. We are past that now. And just today, my wife and I have been discussing this for a couple of days now, maybe 3 days or so. But today I've noticed that there's a lot of people that are giving the same message, albeit in different ways, but ultimately it's the same message, that things are about to change in this world, spiritually and physically. Because, you know, when Jesus was telling his disciples what to look for as far as the end, and just before his return, he gives them a list of things, and he says these are the beginning of sorrows. But we are past that now. We have been going through some strife worldwide. There's been some persecution upon our brothers and sisters that we haven't seen to that extent here in America, but across the world, they are losing their lives for the faith, which is exactly what Jesus said would happen. So a couple days ago, I think it was the same day I made that last video, that's what my wife was telling me, that the Lord's been speaking to her, you know, a lot more so than usual. And I'm assuming everyone's getting the same message from the Father, that we're out of time, we're out of the grace period, and we're fixing to see some serious changes in this world. From a carnal mind, a lot of people's not going to be able to understand what this is, what's happening and what's taking place, because a lot of it, you know, the old saying, truth is stranger than fiction. Well, you have no idea if you haven't delved deep into this community, just past headlines and world events, but go deep, that there's a lot of spiritual things that are fixing to take place that we are going to be able to perceive in the physical, that are to most people going to be unexplainable. And I know a lot of people's been hearing from like people like Stephen Banoon about the meteors hitting and all that, but it goes far beyond physical destruction of this earth. There's going to be some manifestations of things that some people, even though it's spoken of in the Bible, many Christians don't believe. And I mentioned it in that last video, and I was kind of puzzled as to why I mentioned it. But in many books talking about the end times, it mentions giants and that they will be making a comeback. And this is something that I've been led to look back into, is the Black Awakening. We're so close to that happening, and when it does, that's when men's hearts are going to fail them for what's coming upon the earth. And if you haven't heard about the Black Awakening, because most of us have heard of the Great Awakening, but the Black Awakening is something completely different. A lot of the elite family defectors have spilled the beans on this, and what they say they have been trained in many millions and millions have been trained when the switch is flipped to basically become murderous lunatics, would be the easiest way to explain it. And we see this in a lot of movies. I've covered that in the past in videos. But it also talks about a 200 million man army of the Antichrist. And a lot of people think because China has a 200 million man army that that's the army of the Antichrist. It's not. It's far worse than just men. These are hybrid, genetically modified people. Look just like us, but they're going to be a lot bigger, a lot faster, a lot stronger, a lot smarter. And whether or not they're going to be the true spirits of the Nephilim, I don't know. But there's been a lot of talk of the whole cloning scenario, that these evil beings do this to have a physical body, an avatar to inhabit. So I can't say for certain whether or not that's what's going on with the hybrid programs, but DARPA had it on their website years ago about genetically modified or enhanced super soldiers. Putin has talked about it. The Syrian leader of Syria has spoken about it. Many leaders have talked about genetically modified soldiers being out in the Middle East, and a lot of people have heard about the Afghan giant that the army platoon had ran into in the hills of Afghanistan. I think L.A. Marzulli covered that, and there was somebody else, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he covered about the Afghan giant, the red-headed giant, about 10 to 12 foot tall. Nobody really knows because it was classified, but the soldiers who encountered this thing, they weren't quiet about it. And I don't think I could be quiet about it either, no matter what kind of agreement I signed, what the elites make people sign, where you can't talk about what you see and all that. But I couldn't keep it to myself. I'd have to tell everybody too. But if y'all remember back in, I think it was around 2013 to 2015 era, when Obama was still president, when they were over there capturing Christians, and they were walking them down a beach. A lot of the theorists, truthers, had covered this about how these Arabic descended ISIS members supposedly were far taller than the American Christians that they were parading just before they were beheading them on camera. And these people were in the 8 to 9 foot range. And I feel here real soon you're going to start seeing taller people kind of blending in with the public. I don't know how tall these people are going to be. If they're going to be in the 9 to 10 foot range, I mean, that would be kind of obvious if there were a lot of them starting to show up in different areas, but I think they're going to be more like our basketball players in the 7 to 7.5 foot range to start. But they're going to start integrating themselves into the populace, the masses, and just trying to blend in. So keep an eye out for that. There's also been talk of this magnetic pole reversal, which has a lot of validity. I don't believe in a ball Earth spinning through space, but the polarity reversal is more I guess more explains what would take place. And I think that's going to have a lot to do with this Black Awakening also, when this when the switch is flipped, so to speak. Those who have a evil mind or evil heart will be given over at that time fully to evil. Whether you're a super soldier, hybrid or not, it's not just going to be them doing the bidding of the enemy. So these are just some things that my wife and I have been talking about. I have been on, taking a look at the the Black Awakening again, and she's been on more or less the dimensions, the dimensional aspect of all this and what's fixing to take place, because the Lord is warning again that we're fixing to see some serious stuff. You know what I mean? A lot of people are saying we're going to be up out of here prior or shortly after this stuff starts, but I just don't know about that. The Lord's going to need some soldiers here to try and save those souls who are found with their lamps empty, if you know what I mean. They had a lamp, it just wasn't full. So I just wanted to put this warning out. Just be on the lookout for, taller than average people starting to pop up in communities. But also, get your house in order for the birth pains. As my wife kept saying that she was put back in the car when she had the twins. When we first started out towards the hospital, it was about a 45-minute drive. Her contractions were about 5 minutes apart, 6 minutes apart when we ended up leaving the house. By the time, 20 minutes passed, they were almost 2.5 minutes apart, so it happened fast. And as soon as we got to the hospital, she was brought into the room and she had the twins. So this too is going to happen fast. So this world's fixing to change dramatically in a spiritual and physical way. So just be ready, man. Stay prayed up and do what you have to do to draw closer to the Lord, because He's coming back. I don't know how much time we're going to have to endure stuff, these things that are going to be happening as this birth intensifies. But it's definitely fixing the snowball. So I just had to put this up, man. Love you guys.
Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints,